How's it going, guys? It's Nathan from Nathan's DIY Garage, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a loud belt problem or pulley problem on a BMW E39 and how to fix the transmission shutter under hard acceleration. Okay, so we have this E39. This is a 98 E39 M52. Now, as far as the belt situation goes, that's the same as M54 and everything else. Uses all the same pulleys, same water pump. I believe it's in the same alternator. So this car, when you start it up only at cold, it has a real loud squalling noise, and we know from experience on other videos that it's usually the idler or tensioner pulley down here. So what we're going to have to do, we're going to have to go and pull the radiator shroud out. We're going to have to spin the clutch fan off. We're going to have to lay the coolant bottle off to the side, and then we're going to try to get the belts off, and we're going to have to spin each pulley individually and see which one is bad and hopefully have it here in stock. Okay guys, so here we go. We're just going to do this real time here. We're going to start off with a pair of dikes, wire cutters. We're going to pull this little plug over here real gently, and that actually holds on the fan shroud. This side is missing, so keep him back here out of the way. That's all we need those for. And I need to grab a Phillips screwdriver. At the next point, we're going to go ahead and take off the coolant bottle from the shroud, and we're going to kind of lay it up out of the way. Okay, so here we are. Let's go ahead and, we had it started a little bit ago. Let's go ahead and loosen the other one up. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's going to be hard to let pressure off of it because it's already been started. We'll have to do it a little bit here. Usually you can let this one loose and it'll bleed, but every car is different, so kind of is what it is. We'll loosen the cap up, let it vent some of the air off of it. It was only started for less than 5 minutes, so it shouldn't be that pressurized. Yep, and we're good to go. So let's go ahead and go back here. We'll make sure our other screw is tight again. Go ahead and loosen this guy up, and we're going to put this guy right back in as soon as we take it off. So I'll go ahead and get under this little plastic deal and gently pry him up. You don't want to break that. Somebody's already broke it, but it's all right. And here it is right here. It just has two little tabs. You get in there and just pop it up off of there. So after you do that, you're going to push it off to the side. We're going to go ahead and put our screw back in. We'll put that guy up in the strut tire to keep him out of the way, like this. And let me go ahead and grab a 1/4" drive socket to get this guy off. Okay, so here we are. We just loosened this guy here up, this hose clamp, and we're going to ever so gently take this hose off. I usually take a screwdriver, a little pry bar. We'll just kind of snake it off of there. You got to be real careful with these not to snap off the plastic nipple. A lot of guys will break those off and they'll put a piece of little tubing in there. Once you break it, you're done. You have to buy a new one. There's no question. You don't want to rig that on there. You end up having a major crisis, because what it'll do is it'll end up leaking and it'll melt your engine down. Okay, so next off, we're going to go ahead and pull the fan. I'll have to aim you guys up a little more here. Okay, so to pull the fan, we're going to use these eBay wrenches. They're pretty cheap. I think they're 16 bucks for both of them. And we're going to have to go in and try to get this on the long side. There's two different ends. I like to use a longer end. Get it in like that. And this is reverse thread, guys, so we're going to go backwards. Like you can do it. There we go. Somebody had that thing on way too tight. Way too tight. We're going to spin this thing off. I'll leave that in there for right now. We're going to let it just fall down like that. We're going to go and pull this guy out. this point in time, we should just be able to lift it out. Now we're going to lift it out. We're going to go and pull this fan out once we get it up here a little bit. And you got to kind of be careful with it because you will snap that fan shroud right in two. And there's a hose in the bottom that runs the bottom of the coolant tank. We're going to try to get this lifted up a little bit more here, like that. We're going to lift this out of here, just like that, and lift it out. Set it out of the way. Don't set it where you're going to trip over it either. That's another real common mistake. And at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and stick this hose back on here, keep from leaking. We're going to set that down. Let me see here. We're going to take all this stuff out. Let's go ahead and just set it up here out of the way. Get completely out of our way. And I want to grab you guys, bring you in. You can actually see the belt, how cracked and deteriorated it is. So we're going to go ahead and pull this T50 out here. We're going to go ahead and pull the T50 out right there. And we're going to go ahead and take these belts off. Then we'll be able to actually get back on here and see which pulley exactly is bad, or if it's a water pump, or what the situation is. So let's go ahead and do that. By doing that, we're going to use, like I said, a T50. We're going to use a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, the 3/8 adapter. That's what I like to use. It gives you a little more leverage on it. Let's just go ahead and, somebody's already kind of stripped that. They didn't use a T50, or they used Allen or something. I don't know if I get that off without breaking that or not. I don't think it will accept any bigger ones. I know it won't, in fact. Okay, so let's go back to a 3/8 drive ratchet and let's see if we can't get this figured out real quick. Okay, so we went in and pulled it off, and we're gonna have to replace this bolt. See if I can't knock some more stuff off for you. We're gonna have to replace this bolt. This bolt's too far gone. And usually what I do is use the 1/2 inch drive ratchet with the adapter, T50, but on this I actually had to use the 3/8, so it's shorter. Even then, extremely hard to get off. Somebody's used the wrong bit, a size too small, or an Allen wrench or something like that on it. So we're gonna go ahead and start off here first of all by looking at the belt. The belt's good shape. Somebody's replaced the main belt but not the AC belt. So we're gonna go and spin the pulley down here. Let's see if I can pull you guys in here. I'm gonna spin the AC idler pulley. There's no noise, it doesn't freewheel, so it's pretty good shape. I'm gonna go over here to the idler. No noise, doesn't freewheel, it's really good shape. Go down here to the tensioner, and you can hear, maybe, I'll flip the mic. Got some noise. Doesn't have a lot of play. That could be it. We're gonna go up here, we're gonna check the alternator bearing. Alternators sounds perfect. Hard to check the power steering here. I don't have any play in it. It feels good. So we're gonna say this guy is gonna be the culprit, and we're gonna go ahead and try to get this thing off of here, and hopefully that doesn't strip out, and go and get it replaced. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to get in here, get this thing off. And we're going to try to go back to the big ratchet here, because we're going to need the leverage to break it loose. So we're going to be going the opposite direction. We're going to be going loosen. I'm going to try to hold it in with one hand. I'm going to turn it with the other. There we go, we got it. And it's kind of tricky sometimes, guys, with these cars. You really got to use a little bit of common sense when working on them. Same tools don't work right for every car. Let's go and spin this thing off and see what's going on with it. When you take it off, make sure there's no washers going to fall out. This one does not have a washer behind it. And you can see that's kind of all eaten up. Let's see if it'll focus here. Knock the camera over as soon as I touch it. That's awesome. It's all kind of eaten up. And you can see the pulley here with the bearing. You can't hear it, but I could feel it when I spin it on my finger. So let me go and see if I got another one here. I think I do, and we'll get it replaced. Okay, so we do have another pulley here. It's really good. No play or nothing. We have another bolt here, which looks like it's brand new. So let's go ahead and reinstall. I always want to make sure when you do these pulleys, make sure you have the right pulley. There is a bunch of different ones. You gotta make sure it's spaced right. This one looks like it's right. We're gonna go ahead and install it. Then we'll have to give it a spin to make sure that everything is lined up right and everything's gonna work right. And when you take this center bolt out, this is standard thread, it's not reverse thread. Need to get up here and make sure it's lined up good. You gotta make sure that the head of the bolt goes in the center of the pulley. Just like that. Kind of a little bit of a task making sure it's right, and that's the name of the game, guys, making sure everything's 100% right. You don't want to half-ass anything, because if you do, it's going to cause you nothing but problems sooner than later. Okay, so we're lined up, it's going in there nice. And make sure as you're tightening it down, make sure it still spins, and this one does. I'm really surprised that this upper outer pulley feels as good as what it does. Somebody must have replaced it. It doesn't have any play. Hell, it feels perfect. Okay, so we got that part done. We're gonna go ahead and do one more thing. We're gonna go and spin the water pump and make sure there's no growling to it. We're gonna wiggle it. There is the tiniest bit of play. And it's got a couple little tiny chips out of the back. That's not really too big of a deal. That's real common. I'm going to look for any kind of cracks in the face of it. We're not seeing none of that. It's a little bit dirty. Okay. I know we did put the metal impeller water pump in this car. So let's go ahead and get the belts put back on and start it up, see if we fixed it. Okay, so here we go. We just put the belt back on. So in case you guys don't know how it goes, the top goes under that pulley up over the water pump, and it goes back and loops around the tensioner like that. And it goes around that pulley on the bottom, around the power steering pump, and up. And that's how you do that belt. Now the AC belt, let me see if I got a new one here for it. I should. There is two different kinds of belts for these. Some of these have like a hydraulic tensioner, some have a spring tensioner, which is more like the tensioner up here. This one you can see a little shock on the bottom there, and that's the hydraulic style. The belts are a little different size, so let me see what I got laying around. Okay, so here we go, guys. We got the main belt on. We just went over that. We got the AC belt on. It had three different belts here. They were all the spring tensioner belts. They are a little bit shorter. They will not work on this. They're not interchangeable. If you try to do it the other way, it's going to be too big, too long, and the tensioner is not going to tension right. So, at any rate, went and started it up. Everything sounds good. I'll go ahead and do it for you guys just in a second here, real quick. Okay, so here it is. Won't let it run very long. My tool's going to slide off, and the fan's not on it. But everything's running good. It's sounding good. I don't really hear anything out of the ordinary. What you're always going to want to do before you put the shroud and the fan back on, you always want to start it. You always want to make sure you have the problem fixed before you put everything back on. Otherwise, you're just creating yourself a lot more work. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall this the opposite way we took it out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that right now. There is a little bit of a trick to this. We're going to grab the fan, and while our fan's out here, we're going to check the fan clutch. It should be hard to turn. And how you can tell when you reinstall it, you should be able to spin it on there. And there is a little bit of a trick to it, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and get it put up here. We're going to get our coolant bottle put on the right side here. And we're going to go ahead, before we slide it down in there, we're going to go ahead and lock our hose in to all the appropriate hangers. Like that. Need about 3 hands to do it with. I'm going to pull our little hose off, put our finger over that, and we're going to get that over there. So you want to make sure that the lower hose is not bound up in any way, shape, or form before you drop this thing back down in there. So we can't sling stuff over the camera real quick. We're going to lay our hose right on top of the radiator. Go ahead and get this guy somewhat locked in place, or at least over there where we need them. Okay, so once we do that, we're going to get lined up and we're going to start sliding it down in there. And you got to kind of work it down between the hoses and all the sensors and all other crap. If you just go gently with it, you're not going to break anything. If you get pissed off and you get crazy, you start ramming into stuff, this is not the car for you. These cars are reward whoever pays the most attention and whoever has the kindest hand to them. Okay, so go down in there and we're gonna get in here, we're gonna go and start the fan. Sometimes this is super easy, sometimes it's a pain in the ass. You need to remember that these are reverse threads on the fan. And the fan clutch a little bit wore, and it's wanting to spin instead of start. You gotta be real careful about, I don't like starting with a wrench, because if you do that and you cross thread it, you're gonna ruin your water pump. And that's a real common thing to have happen. So if you do use a wrench, don't use any force, just barely use it to turn the nut if it doesn't want to start. Okay, we're snugged up. We're gonna take our wrench, go like that, and that's it. No freaking cranking it down. Anything more than that, you're hurting yourself. So let's go ahead and get our little tube fed up here. And this is a little bit of a tricky part also. Let me make sure you guys can even see this. This is kind of a fine line here, guys, to actually get this lined up without snapping anything. So what you're going to want to do, well, that's lovely. And you get the tripod with the legs right, but it's hard to get it like that and have the right shot. So we're going to go back up here. We're going to get our little impact ready with our clamp thing. Get our clamp back lined up. We're going to get our hose fed up through here. And it's a real tight situation for sure. We're going to put our clamp back on here on the hose, and you want the head of your clamp facing up. Let's see if I could even get it. Notice on this car also, when I just started it, the starter's having problems. It's not engaging the first hit. It never had that problem before. The car has been sitting a little bit, so I don't know if it's something to do with that or what, but we'll definitely have to look into that if it doesn't get tremendously better, tremendously quick. Okay, so you want to get that thing started on there like that. Okay, with your clamp facing up, you're going to come in here. My left hand is under the shroud. You're going to hold that with 2 fingers. Pull that screw back out. And a lot of E39 guys know this is the biggest pain in the ass. And this is even like this on the newer E39s. And you're going to want to push it in there till it's all the way in there. And up through the hole here, we're going to take our little impact. As soon as I touch it, it flips it over. And make sure that's spun up right, but not too far. And it's a real son of a bitch, I tell you guys. Anybody that's done this knows you got to hold that clamp up till it starts getting tight. This impact's not real terribly strong, and I can tell by the looks of the clamp that's plenty tight. And we're going to go and hook the bottom of it in down here. Because if you don't hook it in right, it's going to get into your pulley and cause a problem. And it looks like that's right. We're going to go ahead and reinstall our plastic clip. And it looks like it's as right as what it's going to get for this shroud. Like that. And once we install the clip, it locks it in. A lot of cars you see will be missing this clip, and that's kind of a risky operation, because if that coolant hose gets back into the AC pump pulley, it's going to cut it right in two and rip it up, and you're going to overheat real quick. Okay, so at this point, we're all reinstalled here. We're going to go ahead and make sure the shroud is locked in good. And there's little hangers on the side. You just got to kind of pay attention to it and make sure everything's locked in right. Looks like we are. We're going to go ahead and put our plastic clip in. Like that. Push it in, lock it, and that's it. Now we're going to go ahead and top this off a little bit. We didn't lose hardly any, just a very tiny bit. So we'll go ahead and pull both bleeder screws out and top it off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull the second bleeder screw out also. Right here. And then we're going to fill. This shouldn't need to be just a very, very tiny bit, if any at all. We're going to fill this guy until water comes out the second bleeder screw over here at the thermostat housing. All right, there it's full. Let's go and replace this. Okay. I don't like the way some of these aftermarket water necks thread in. It'll start real easy, and then down at the very bottom it gets hard. And it seems like they're kind of all like that. It feels like you're always cross-threading, but it's not. Make sure it's squished down, not too tight. You want to watch the rubber washer and make sure it's squished down right. We're going to go ahead and put a little more in this. And we're using straight water on this because we're adding such a small amount. And we're going to fill it until it comes out of the bleeder screw on the can here. And you can see it coming up, air bubbles coming out. And we'll let it sink down a little bit. And it's pretty much good to go. Give it just another second to make sure. Yep. And we're going to go and replace this screw. Put him back in. At this point in time, we're going to go ahead and clean up our tools and start the car. Hey guys, so just started it up, and lo and behold, the noise came back after it ran a few minutes. So I took a long screwdriver and I lifted down against each pulley on the back side of it. And at this point in time, we're pretty sure it's the water pump. Now, even though I spun it and it felt fine, that doesn't mean anything. The water pump is new. You can tell by looking at it, and he said it was new. Sometimes you just get bad parts. There's really no difference from getting the cheap China stuff off eBay. Even the Bear stuff, I've had bad parts that were the Bear brand, the factory brand. The difference to that is the Bear one's really expensive, the China ones are cheap. You can buy 5 of them for the price of one Bear. A lot of you guys won't like that, but that's just a cold hard truth about it. Now, the idler pulley and tensioner pulleys, those are the same way. The cheap one lasts just as long as the expensive one. And, you know, cheap ones are $8. I think a name brand one's close to 30. So at this point in time, if this thing runs for a little bit, it'll stop making the noise. Usually what happens is the seal starts going bad on the water pump, it starts leaking down the bearing on the pump and causes this problem. So even though it's not leaking any water, it's not dripping yet, I'd almost promise you that the water is in that bearing. Now I did spin it, it did feel great. Sometimes that's just the way stuff goes. So I don't have a water pump here. We'll have to come back to this car, and we need to get the bottom of the starter issue also. We also need to get the bottom of the dry shaft problem, and it has a brake pad sensor warning light on, and it has a SRS airbag light on. We haven't scanned it yet. We will scan it. Usually that's the passenger side seat sensor, or somebody could have unhooked the door airbag doing a power window. They could have unplugged the seat and took it out and set the light off. So that's what we got to do with this car. It sounds like a lot of work, but it's really not that bad. Okay, so at this point in repairs, we're about $8 in. If you would have taken that to a shop, you've been in hundreds of dollars, and the shop's just going to tell you, well, it needs a water pump also, bring it back another day. What they're going to do, they're going to go ahead and charge you again to take that stuff apart. You know, they're going to make a 3-hour job out of it. I did it live on camera in what, 10 minutes? And that was kind of messing with the camera a lot and not going at full speed. So we're going to go and order a water pump for this thing. Even if that's not what it is, we're pretty sure it is. I need one on the shelf anyway. That's something that's a very usable part here. And we'll do that, and we'll do other videos on the dry shaft problems and the starter issue. So thanks for watching, guys.